The sea does not give up its secrets easily. Down in the cold, dark water, time moves differently. For 55 years, something slept on the ocean floor, hidden from the world above. It was a secret, wrapped in silence and salt. Then, one day, fishermen pulling in their heavy nets felt a snag. They thought it was rock, or perhaps the lost anchor of a ship. But as they pulled, a strange shape began to emerge from the gloom. It was vast and made of metal, rusted a deep, dark brown. It was something they had never seen before. At first, the shape was confusing. It looked like a piece of a wrecked vessel, maybe a boiler, or a piece of the hull. They saw what looked like a large, round eye, like a ship's porthole set into a head. And then, below that, a hand. This was no part of a ship. What they had found was something else entirely. It had the form of a person, but it was immense. It was the shape of a giant robot. The discovery sent a ripple of quiet wonder through the small coastal community. What was this thing? How did it come to be here, resting in the deep? The fishermen spoke in hushed tones, describing the strange figure they had accidentally woken from its long slumber. The news traveled slowly at first, carried on the sea breeze from the docks to the town. People gathered to look at the grainy photographs taken from the boat, their faces filled with curiosity. A simple question hung in the air. Where did this giant come from? The initial find was just a glimpse, a brief and startling encounter before the net had to be cut and the shape was allowed to sink back into the depths. But the image was unforgettable. The robot, for that is what they now called it, was once again alone on the seabed. But it was no longer a secret. It was now a destination, a point on a map marked by a new kind of treasure. A story had begun. A story of a lost machine and the quiet world it had inhabited for more than half a century. And a new quest was about to begin, to go down and meet this silent giant face to face. A small team of divers prepared for the descent. Their mission was not one of salvage, not yet. It was a mission of observation. They carried maps marked with the fishermen's coordinates. Their most important tools were their cameras and their lights. They slipped beneath the waves, leaving the bright world of air and sun behind. The water grew colder and darker as they went deeper. Schools of silver fish darted past them, temporary companions in this alien world. The divers moved with a slow, deliberate grace, their movements measured, like a clock ticking forward into the past. And then they saw it. Bathed in the beams of their powerful underwater lamps, the robot stood on a flat bed of silt. It was even larger than the stories had suggested. Fish swam in and out of the spaces between its arms and torso. Long green strands of seaweed draped over its shoulders like a tattered cloak. A colony of barnacles had made a home on its broad chest. The robot was a part of this underwater landscape, a man-made mountain nature had slowly begun to reclaim. The divers circled the figure, their lights tracing its form. The metal was pitted and rough, stained the color of old blood by decades of rust. Yet, despite the decay, its shape was unmistakable. It had two powerful arms, ending in those large, simple hands. It had a solid, blocky head with that single porthole-like eye. On its chest, beneath the crust of marine life, they could just make out the faint outline of a faded logo, its letters long since washed away. The robot seemed to be standing at ease, as if it had simply stopped in the middle of a task and gone to sleep. The divers dared to touch it. The surface felt hard, but also fragile, the layers of rust flaking away under their gloved fingers. Elena carefully brushed away a patch of silt near the robot's waist. Underneath, she found a small metal plate, miraculously preserved. Engraved on the plate were numbers. It was a date. The date was 1969. The number sent a fresh wave of surprise through the team. This machine was from another era, a time before the sleek, computer-driven robots of today. This was a relic, an ancestor from the dawn of a new age of machines. The date, 1969, changed everything. The mystery was no longer just about a strange object. It was now a historical puzzle, a puzzle waiting to be solved. Machines from that period were typically heavy and mechanically simple. Computers were the size of rooms, not the tiny chips we know today. Its structure was made of thick, riveted metal plates, and old insulated wires snaked out from broken conduits. Large cylinders on its arms and back looked like powerful hydraulic or pneumatic motors. The search for its origin began in dusty archives and forgotten libraries, looking for its maker, for the factory that had brought this metal giant to life. They pored over old engineering catalogs from the 1960s, searching for any design that matched their underwater photographs. They visited maritime museums, spoke to retired dock workers and engineers, people who remembered a time when technology was something you could see and touch. For weeks, their search yielded nothing. The robot remained an orphan, a machine without a history, its story still lost to time. People continued to guess about its purpose. Some said a film prop, others whispered of a secret military experiment. Finally, there was a breakthrough. A young historian on the team, Matteo, found a small, overlooked record in a municipal archive. It was a shipping manifest from a long-defunct factory near the port. The document described a mobile lifting automaton designed to help move heavy cargo on the docks, a mechanical stevedore. And in a faded, typewritten line, the file gave the machine a designation. The name was Atlas I. For the first time, the silent giant had a name. The mystery was beginning to unravel. With its name and purpose discovered, the story of Atlas I shifted. The quiet mystery transformed into an ambitious mission. A plan was carefully put together to lift the robot from its watery resting place. Heavy cranes, a large barge as a floating platform, and most importantly, precise and careful timing. They would have to wait for calm weather, gentle waves, and weak currents. The primary concern was to protect the robot's fragile body. The divers practiced the procedure with small models. Wide, strong straps positioned under the robot's arms and around its sturdy chest. These straps would distribute the weight evenly, cradling the giant rather than pulling on any single weak point. Every step was planned with the utmost care. The day of the lift began before sunrise. The sea was calm, its surface like dark glass. The salvage barge moved into position directly above the submerged robot. The divers descended one last time, carrying the heavy straps. They worked slowly and methodically, securing Atlas I for its journey to the surface, checking each buckle and connection. There was a sense of reverence in their work, as if they were tending to a sleeping king. Then, the signal was given. The powerful winch began to turn. The thick cables grew taut. Slowly, ever so slowly, Atlas I began to rise. It left the bed of silt that had been its home for more than half a century. A plume of sediment swirled around it as it rose through the water column, passing through layers of light and life. As it neared the surface, the dark shape became clearer, larger, until finally, at the break of dawn, it breached the water. Light, for the first time in 55 years, struck its metal skin. Section 5. The First Touch of Air. As Atlas I was gently lowered onto the deck of the barge, the crew fell silent. People gathered around, drawn close by a mixture of awe and curiosity. Out of the water, the robot seemed both smaller and larger at once. Its immense size was undeniable, yet the intricate details of its decay were now visible, making it seem vulnerable. Small parts like hinges and sensor casings, larger plates dented and scarred. Countless bolts had been corroded away, leaving empty, weeping holes where rust trailed down like tears. Despite the damage, the robot held its form with a strange dignity. It was a survivor. The team worked quickly, their movements gentle and respectful. They carried it, with the help of the crane, to a large dry hall at a nearby port prepared for its arrival. This would be its hospital, its restoration workshop. The first and most crucial step was to wash away the sea. They carefully rinsed its entire body with fresh water, removing the corrosive salt. The salt came off in white flakes, and the barnacles fell away under the gentle persuasion of soft brushes. Cleaning revealed the true extent of its long slumber. Faint traces of paint, perhaps safety yellow or a brilliant blue in protected crevices. The logo on its chest, though still illegible, was more defined. The team documented every discovery. They were reading a history written in corrosion. Their goals: stabilize the robot, understand its workings, and share it with the public. The work would proceed in careful, measured steps, preserving the soul of the machine along with its form. Well, that's how they began. The first step in the restoration was cleaning, a slow and meticulous process. The team used warm, deionized water to gently lift the remaining salt with soft brushes and wooden picks. They cleared the last barnacles and sediment from every joint and seam. The rust was the most delicate challenge. They could not simply remove it all. They treated it with special chemical solutions to stabilize corrosion and prevent spread, leaving some rust where it told a poignant story of its time in the sea. The second step was repair, focusing on structural integrity to make the giant strong enough to stand again. They fixed broken joints and reinforced weakened hinges. Where bolts were missing, they searched for originals or fabricated exact period replicas. Their philosophy was conservation, not renovation. They wanted it to look like itself. They used old-fashioned tools and modern analytical techniques. The third step ventured inside. The inner world was a tangle of wires, motors, and gears. Many components were severely corroded. Copper turned green and steel to brittle dust. The team decided against a full functional restoration since it would mean replacing almost everything. Instead, they made new, non-functional parts by hand to show the original mechanisms. They used fresh copper wires and polished steel rods to recreate a section of the interior. Matteo made an incredible discovery: the original factory drawings. The blueprints were a map to the robot's soul, showing how every gear meshed and each piston moved. The team followed them with reverence. For the electrical system, they made one concession: a new, safe battery unit that looked old but used modern, stable power cells. This allowed them to power the lights in a few small movements, bringing a flicker of life back to the giant without the danger of its old, volatile chemistry. Among the dedicated team, Anna, a mechanical restorer, had a unique way of working, closing her eyes and running her hands over the metal. I can feel their shapes. I can almost hear how they are supposed to move. Under her patient care, the fingers of Atlas I, frozen for decades, could finally curl and uncurl. Matteo felt a bond with the people who built Atlas I. He found the daughter of Elias, a lead dock mechanic from the 60s. She kept a small, tarnished key from her father. In the workshop, the key fit perfectly. He turned it, and a tiny compartment sprang open. Inside was a short, handwritten note. "For our work, for the sea. Elias." A wave of emotion washed over the room. The robot was more than a machine. It was a memorial. As the restoration neared completion, the workshop opened its doors to the public for small, guided tours. The team explained the robot's workings in clear, common words. They wanted everyone, children and engineers, to feel a sense of connection and understanding, to hear the story of its discovery and rebirth. Its massive size was necessary for the power it needed, driven by thick, simple motors before the age of modern computers. Its brain a system of relays and hydraulic valves. Workers operated it not with a keyboard, but with heavy levers and large, chunky buttons. Each movement was a direct command, slow and deliberate. It was less like a thinking machine and more like a living tool, an extension of the operator's will, designed to perform one task with immense strength. In our world of invisible processes and complex software, Atlas I was refreshingly transparent. You could trace the path of power from motors through gears to the hands, a machine built by human hands, for human hands. Its purpose was straightforward: to lift what was too heavy, to save backs from a lifetime of strain, to make a hard workplace a little safer. When they finished, they did not try to make the robot walk. That was not the point. They gave it back a small, symbolic flicker of life. With the press of a button, Atlas 1 could slowly raise a hand, turn its head a little, its single eye seeming to gaze around the room. The motion was slow, quiet, and deeply moving, like waking from a very long sleep, a gentle giant stirring in a new and unfamiliar world. On the day of the public reveal, the hall was filled with people, some from the town, others from far away. Children held their parents' hands, eyes wide with wonder. Older visitors looked closely, faces etched with recognition. They read about the fishermen, the divers, and the restorers. They saw the date, 1969, and a replica of Elias's note. The robot stood under soft, warm lights, no longer an object of mystery, but a subject of shared history. We are surrounded by the things we make, but we often forget they carry a part of us. A tool is never just a tool. It keeps the marks of the hands that used it. A machine is never just a machine. It holds the memory of the minds that designed it. When we restore an old object, we do more than fix metal or wood. We are saving a story. Atlas 1 kept the mark of Elias, the salt of the sea, and the secret of the little key. Its new permanent home is a museum by the sea, not far from where it was found. There, children can learn how heavy work was done by a big mechanical helper, that broken things can be mended, that memory can be repaired and kept safe with gentle, patient hands. In the end, Atlas 1 stands quiet and dignified, no longer lost. Look closely at the world around you. Find the past in small, ordinary things, and care for what you find. What we make can outlast us, but only if we listen and care for its memory.